talk about the people, I noticed that they talk about more about the negatives of the person to start with. Oh, he has to develop on this and he has to develop on that and all the things. So thereby, one trend I found is, first, if you tackle the first few in the organization, so N and N minus 1, N being the CEO and N minus 1 is that report is. Now, if you help them to win over themselves, I'm not talking about it. So in my coaching, what I do is that I don't do a coaching which is, advising. The coaching is not for advising. It's purely about reflection. So the clear trend which is emerging is when the connection with the you in you is happening with that individual, the ability to look at the other people also in the team is becoming very, very easy. So this is one trend which is coming up. More empathy is coming. The ability to see the people in their perspective is coming up from the leaders. And the truth, reality and fact of how people are giving the feedback. I don't know how many of you know, in our company we have started as a reverse feedback process, reverse mentoring process, that one of the young guy can also start mentoring the older generation person and give the feedback. Now, I don't know how many of you have sat in those feedback sessions, but if you experience that, just a newborn baby coming inside the organization of 1 or 2 years of experience, sitting with the people who are having 20, 25 years of experience and giving the feedback. And these feedbacks, they also agree at a timeline of 90 to 180 days what type of behaviors I will change. So this is the trend which is coming. The second trend which is coming up using digitization is that more outside in has come in than the inside out. So that's the second trend. The third trend which is emerging in terms of people is, I think the leaders have now started identifying the good talents for their future jobs. That means if a person was taking, I think this is very important for you guys to understand. If the person was taking on a normal course 10 years to come to a certain level, now these people who have experienced the coaching are now telling that why 10 years? Why can't we crash it to 5 years? Let's put all the developmental process for the people. Let's identify this. Barter system has come into the place in a talent barter system, that one business unit is now telling to other business unit that you can take this person, give that person. So these trends are emerging with only one thing in place in my coaching. As a coach, I'm still a student, but as a coaching experience, what I can tell is that when you connect the you in you, even for us also, when we are sitting here, when we connect the you in you, transformation happens. So this transformation is helping people and the organization and the younger generation to come in. More acceptability has come in.
Thank you. Thank you, Balaji. So I'll move on to discussion from trends to something else, which have been like observations made by myself. Do you think that structure of the organization plays an important role? Because normally the learning function is under the shadow of HR guys. Do you think the trend should change, that the learning function should be driven by the business guys? Because that's my need. I want to kind of understand when I say we are moving into agile, just in time kind of approach, and to understand the need of the people. So I'll tell you where I'm coming from. Current workforce, if you guys also see that current folk, and this is a trend and NASCOM study and everything which has come up in the past 1 or 2 years, and a lot of studies there that what the work which has been done by 100 people in the past 1 year or something will be done by 60, 70 people, and thus we all know that. There's been studies there. What does it mean automation is coming into picture? And what does it mean also the current workforce which we have, mainly in technical field, will become redundant in after some time. And it is the responsibility of the company to skill them. Also, that yes, because they have given us couple of years, 4, 5 years, 6 years in the company, and it's important for us to kind of redeploy on the new technologies. But do you think a structure plays an obstacle there? Okay? Or the right current structure is right? Or do you think it will help if we move the structure into business? So Shantanu, you can take it. Maybe.
So I would like to presuppose this by something that, learning function, I qualify it like a Friday evening rave party experience versus Monday morning Holocaust. So when the consumer, that is the learner, steps out of his campus, any company, including 64% on the plus 50 age group. So let's not be looking at only Generation Z and Millennium. It is the consumer experience. They, when they step out of it, the experience that they gain is everybody into it, boxed. Coming off the structure, from the right, it's very pyramidal. The army, it cannot be as regimented as the army, right? So one general and the second largest army in the world. The structure, there's a report which has been coming out, which has come out by McKinsey recently. The structure of an organization has mutated. Initially, you had tribal structures. Tribes which fought for territory. Tribes which fought for geographies, tribes which fought for food. Then you had a system like an army. You had a hierarchical structure. Tribes formed together with common areas. So organization became matrixed. It had hierarchies. You had a pyramid. Then you had system structures. You had CFO, finance, HR, technology, embedded systems, healthcare. These are the different. Now you have a structure which is called as an amoebic structure. Amoeba. Take an amoeba. It has different. There are no defined structures to define an amoeba. And you have amoebas which actually mutate with an amoeba of another organization. So like you were talking of talent broking, you would have saw it. So there are companies which is looking as consortium of learning specialists. If he is a coach in this particular company with a certification from ICF, I as a cognizant, if I'm matured enough, should not be investing in an ICF recruited coach. Can I have the maturity, being an amoebic presence, of using the consortium of these kind of people? And that's how the structures are determining how the learning function, because it gives you a cost arbitrage per se. You don't have to have larger teams. Coming back to the question of what you say, recruiting. How many of the teams in learning invest in failed learning projects? You have Deloitte, Ernst & Young, which recruited 300 people last year who failed in community projects. Some of you are from the GIBS school. You do community projects. In fact, Indira Nini has just released PWP, performance with a purpose. So community, business, and growth. These are the three levers which actually determine what the structure and how the learning is changing and evolving.
Thank you, Shantanu. Want to take Dr. Balaji?
So, I think first thing back from the school, the structure, the strategy precedes the structure. I think, the structure is very, very important. At the same time, if you see, the organizations are now moving away from those hierarchical structures to form the amoebic type of environment. It's just that the talent can be sourced from within, from anywhere. You don't have to have your own, I think Shantanu brought out a very important point, is that one differentiator at the end of the year would be the way how you made money and the cost how you managed, and what type of people you have managed to retain them. So somewhere in 95, I read an article that is still etched in my mind. It said that you can't retain people; they can only stay with you. So how true it is, even today, when I said that when I joined this company from Siemens, 3.5 years back, the attrition rate was around 32%. It took almost around 7 to 8 months of our people, within HR, to defragment and say, we don't want to be part of HR. We want to be part of the business. Just go to the business and then say, where is the pain point? And I want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this is a very beautiful technique of me from NLP I used called NAC, the Neuro Associate, the NAC technique, what is called. So when we use this knack technique with the business, what we found is that over a period of time, we were able to understand that this structure is one of the reason why people are just attached to that business. 40% of resources on bench, it was there. So we reduced to almost around 20% now. 80% of the people are now getting productive. We also brought in some of the measures in terms of just breaking the structure and said that we don't want to have the resource pool, we don't want to talk about the resource augmentation and then put them into what is called as the project management activity. It's just that available. Everyone have to be occupied. The very fact that everyone have to be occupied in the company, either do the direct work impacting the revenue, or you do something which is building within the organization, actually broke the structure. They said that we are not part of this business, we are not part of that business. So this requires a lot of change from within. And here the leaders can play a major role in it. And then, it's not about the younger people coming and saying that I don't want to be part of it. It's letting go of the leadership makes a huge difference in.
So that concludes that yes, there has to be a requirement for a structure change. What we had at a traditional structure, and new trend can be we can have a amoeba structure or something like that for learning organizations also. Learning function I'm talking about.
Yeah. Gaurav, you started with the question saying that whether L&D should be part of HR.
Yeah. Somewhere
you touched upon it. Okay. So there are two school of thought, and I prefer to be on the other side. The first one, which is I certainly feel that L&D should not be part of the HR. Because the perspective what L&D can bring in candidly in terms of all type of assessments coming out with the outcome and all the things. So give them autonomy, make them as a BU, give them a revenue targets, give them people targets, give them. And I was in TVS. I don't know how many of you would know that TVS, the first statement when I entered TVS, they said that our leadership program begins at the end of 1 year, they said. I was not able to imagine that. That means the moment you become a 1 year old, if you pass 1 year of the service in the organization and go through one appraisal system, the leadership investment begins there. So one of the target I also carried as a plant head, I was used to manage the 3 plants those days as a plant head of HR, is that 10 leaders you have to create. That's one of a KRA which was having almost 30% of the weightage out of the 100. It was there. And it was a part of the stretch target. It was not part of the 100% target. It was a part of the 150% target. It was a stretch target. There I learned if there is an ability for you to defragment your structure, maybe you will come out with bright ideas, creativity will come. And today L&D is reeling under what is called as the ambit of HR, which makes them to say that, I have one structural way of working, that's how I do.
Right.
So maybe you should give autonomy and say that you are not part of HR, run it as a business, and then see how it is.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Balaji. So,
So I think you have raised a very, very, very pertinent, question here. Okay, and I just want to bring one perspective around this. So just to come directly to your question, whether it should be part of HR or out, I would agree with Mr. Balaji, Dr. Balaji. But I would like to put it a little differently, because I think the measure that he added in terms of revenue, etc., I'm not sure whether L&D is the organization to be given that. But I feel for 2 reasons it should be outside the ambit of HR. While I feel it should not be disassociated, HR needs to provide the governance and the initial framework based on the strategy of the organization and where they want to take. I would like to just quote how we are seeing this generation responding actually, right? And I would like to take some clue from even what Mr. Balaji was telling, Mr. Ranjit was telling, that in the corporate world, what matters is the expertise. What people look up to are the experts in their area as their role models, as what was being called in the first panel discussion as the inspirational leader, right? And we traditionally look at the leaders as those who are having certain designations at the top, at the C level, right? What I've seen is the employees of a corporate in the organization look up to the leaders who are their line managers, L+2, L+3, right? So what we have seen working is when these domain experts or technology expert or respective industry experts are mentoring those employees, there is a much faster learning on the job. At the same time, their retention is also higher. These employees find better career opportunities within the organization, find early how to navigate within the organization, right? HR as a specialized function possibly will not be able to do that level of handholding what a expert in the line of business can do. And that is where we have seen it working. The business units, I can give an example. We have a business unit which is, say, let me give it, it's a technical world, it's a database administrators, DBAs, right? So, heavy attrition. It's such a high demand in the market that, people will get into 4 times salary anytime outside. But we have such a strong inspirational leadership there who has a mentoring culture in the unit of those 200-300 people. Those people don't leave even if they get offers outside. True. So that is where I feel the learning as well should be in the line of business with a very, very identified talent to lead that.
So one of the trend which I see is that the structure has to also change in future. And I'll share my company's experience here. So what we have done is, we are a very young company, not very old in the sector, but we very soon realized this, that the learning team has to be with talent. And how we define talent is here differently. So from sourcing is talent acquisition, to internal workforce management, to RMG resource management group, and workforce management is to align and maybe keep the skill inventory of the people, and the talent readiness, which is learning and development, will be one function. So in our company, what we have done this is realizing the fact that HR is, as you said, that sitting in a dark room, a blind man sitting in a dark room looking for a dark black cat, was the same kind of situation. We are deciding things, being an HR team, although we always claim that we are business partners, we do that, but there are certain emotional attachment to our jobs, we have it, and we always try to infuse those things. So this is the change which we have brought in. I don't know how successful it will be, but yes, looking at the trend, we have done that in our company also. So before I shoot it to the audience, yeah. Sure.
So I'm not quite loved by the HR fraternity. Do I get invited to speak to a lot of them? HR for me has become human remains. It's such employee IDs that is there, and
I agree.
I kind of, it's like, especially a company like me, 250,000 people, is just the employee ID. Having said that, I also challenge the community here and those budding people who are actually the future. You need to ask yourself what makes you redundant. And that as a function at a company like me or ours is very empowered. We are very empowered. There is no travel authorization for the rookie who joins in my system. That's the kind of DNA because we have grown. But what is it that makes you redundant is a question that should be coming, because the people who are coming with 22, 23 years of age, you were not there for them to learn. They know how to crack codes. They know you have internet sensations of artists who are not even a Grammy certified guy, 19-year-old coming here, doing a 20,000 people gig and going back. You are not there to train them. You are not there. Trainers are found in the circus. They make the lion sit from one stool to the other stool. You are not trainers. Alright? So if we ask ourselves this question, every 18 or 24 months, you're going to be adapt to what is happening in the consumer world.
So that provokes a good question. I'm diverting a little bit. I was about to open to the audience.
Ask them as well.
But yes, so that provokes one of the thoughts which I'll kind of put it to all. Do you think we should, there are three things here involved. One is that do you think we should consider our employees, means our customers, as consumers? You brought in a very, very beautiful term, a consumer of learning. Okay. Second is that the offering which we have it today, so I'm also not being loud in the fraternity when I speak. I have little vibrant thoughts. So when I say is that all this digitalization of things, HR and all threats and all being created by HR guys only. We want to kind of revamp it again and all the stuff. So we just don't want to do something like new and this terminology like millennials, Gen Y, Gen Z. I think Zen Z plus one will come or something like that. Somebody will coin that. It's not been done by the business, it's done by the HR guys most of the time. So, coming to one is this, which is consumer. Second is that, do you think that when people you said that they can go and Google and open platforms are there, open source platforms are there, how effective these platforms are? When I see a consumer, so consumer behavior is very different, right? And anything which we consume also is very different. But he needs a guidance, he needs a branding, he needs some attraction, right? To get into there, to consume that thing. So do you think that MOOCs or maybe SMOCs or anything have been very effective to all of you guys? And what kind of effect they have? Because my study says that when e-learning came into picture in 2003 or 4, I started my career at that time. So and I was a trainer, not in the circus, but so when we as trainers, my manager told me this, that, oh, Gaurav, this thing, e-learning is coming. And we went to an insurance sector at that time, and insurance was a trainer intensive industry, used to be, still, yeah, to train. So e-learning is coming, so we used to have 450 to 500 trainers that time in one company only, like across the kind of India. So I said it's going to decrease. The human touch, he mentioned some time back, is going to kind of go. So e-learning is coming, some monster is coming. I see a e-learning penetration, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, just for to wake you up also, is not more than 25%. If somebody says that in his company, it is more than 25%, I would like to kind of have a chat with that person. And last point is MOOCs and other things. They're open source platform. How do I measure that what people are gaining, what kind of skills? Because at a point of time, I need to measure that relevancy of those skills to my company's objectives also. I can give a platform. Somebody wants to learn German. Somebody wants to learn guitar. Somebody wants to learn Kannada languages from North India. That's fine. That he can do. But does it align to my company goals and objective? I'm investing some kind of amount on that. So how do I make it structured?
So Gaurav, I want to focus on the topic of digital learning.
Yeah, digital learning. So I'm talking about digital learning only. Yeah.
So first and foremost, I would ask the audience, and they didn't get to ask because they are the audience, right?
Yeah.
Experience is a human touch or not a human touch? Experience, is it a human touch or not a human touch? How you build the experience is the line that we follow in learning. It doesn't mean that so those who have come into this school, this management school, GIBS, you all give an exam, right? You gave an entrance exam. Some of you may have taken coaching, some of you may not have taken coaching, may would have done self-study. Why is it that we need to measure how much they have learned than what they need to learn? If we are clear with what they need to learn, because like you said, I completely subscribe to him, the largest figure in the world, in fact, Aditya Birla Group has the largest completion ratios of e-learning at the plant level. I have worked for that group in Renukut, Renusagar, and they are technical lathe machine operators and stuff because they don't have any other source. In spite of that, 37% is the completion ratio max in the world. It has not. MOOCs, Coursera has just sunset most of its courses. It is sunsetting some of its courses. What is important is, can I build that human experience? There are people, I was giving an example during a talk, a 35-year-old man and a 35-year-old woman. We make the same reward and recognition structure in an organization. But the way a reward is seen by a 35-year-old man and 35-year-old woman is different. Why is it that learning has to be? So it is not that there is no human touch. In fact, the biggest challenge for digitization of learning is how do you keep that subtlety of the human element. If you have seen things like Magic Leap, if you have seen things like HoloLens, very, very expensive, virtual facilitator in the room. Modi did a campaign during his elections with bullock carts holocasting his image. Now you have facilitator, which is one of still the best form of learning is facilitated learning. You cannot beat it. But with the advancement of technology, can I look at an experience which may not be 100% there, but keeping that intact? So learner as a consumer is simply like the cooler tap. You keep the tap and build the house around it. So individual, the problem that you're saying, Gaurav, is we cannot be hyper-personalized to a one learner. And that is the reason digitization is going to take you that place.
Agree, Shantanu. So, Ranjit, also I would like maybe you to come in there. What's the experience? Because you from product industry. And do you see that, yes, this gaining, these e-learning platforms, digitalization is gaining thing, and is it going to kill some human touch somewhere?
For most of the product companies which I've worked with, it's all outcome based, right? For example, for us, what is required, and then you feed into the system. So it's not about an employee. An employee will come back and say, I would like to learn X, Y, Z. I think we are all very ROI based, outcome based organizations. So we train people for what we require, right? It mightn't be in your interest of your career levels, but at the end of the day, it is our company's interest, what our business want to do, and what is the outcome. So it's simple, right? The concept is outcome, ROI based training, number one. Number two, I totally agree. We are culturally aligned to a facilitated based training all the time. So we love people, standard resources. What we ask people is, if you are doing a stand-up meeting of 5 minutes, there should be some concept which you explain in 1 minute.
So right? Will that be correct, guys? Or will that be correct if I see digitalization as an aid, not as a substitute for the experience which learner wants it? It can be used as an aid, or it is going to substitute in future the entire gamut of learning.
I think digitization we are taking too much. I mean, I think I'll, with the permission from Shantanu, I'll tell HR is still the fulcrum of an organization, and we are as an HR people, as that's my religion, and I need to promote that religion in a very empathetic way. And when I touch upon the nerve center of an organization in terms of enhancing the capability, whether using digitization or whether it is facilitation or one-to-one, it still has to impact as an outcome of in the organization. So I agree with Ranjit what he's talking about. It's an outcome-based activity.
So I give a different angle to it while we just wrap it up. So is it different? How do we segregate it? It can be segregated on the audience, means are we doing management training or leadership trainings or technical trainings? It's more in technical trainings rather than or behavioral, because it's coming up. I was surprised to see Shantanu is using a lot of platformization for this. So because normally this has been taught that only technical trainings can be digitized, or we can use a platform on that. What is your say on that?
So I think e-learning is not digitalization. Digital content, I mean, if you speak, what you do in WhatsApp by recording a song is digital bytes. So I think the question that you're asking is subject matters on functional domain digitized trend. Behavior is not something, but I'm saying the platform. When you look at the way, I'll give you a simple example. You recommend a reading book to an associate, that this is the book you should go through in your course curriculum. Do you look at the way that person learns? Do you know whether he likes to read e-books or he actually reads hard books? We as a COE look into those aspects. It is not a substitute for learning. We look at ways. So when I create my IDP, the same 7 habits of highly effective people, if it is recommended, he may get an e-book, I may get a hard copy. How is that possible? That is possible through the digital canvas of inputs. And that's the difference that we try to make.
Thank you. Thank you, Shantanu. Yeah. We go with the audience last. Maybe you want to put in
30 seconds. I just want to give a perspective to this consumer angle that you brought to learning, Gaurav. And I think we are having a slight confusion between, using digital as a form of delivery versus complete digitalization. Okay. So I'll give an example here. We in Wipro, okay, suppose we are providing X number of enablement programs using a classroom-based delivery or say, instructor-led delivery. Now by digitalizing the training delivery for specific skills, we are able to reach more people. Now, as employee, as a consumer, we are able to provide that training to larger number of people. Okay, so that is one advantage of digitalization, that The same training capsule can now, if it was in other forms of delivery, we may be constrained to deliver to 500 people, but the same training now is available for 50,000 people. Okay, and this is where the choice comes as a consumer. We are talking about measurement, right? You also mentioned measurement. We also evolved as an organization which was dictating, that, hey, employee, you need to develop these 3 skills, A, B, C. And then we had a certain response rate to that, a certain employee satisfaction number to that. The moment we opened up, you take any of these skills, we saw a huge increase in adoption. The same evaluation process which was constraining employee that, hey, you have to take these 3 skills for this, you have to attend these 4 programs, with no human touch, whether he wants to learn that skill, whether we like it or not. I mean, just to slightly contradict with you, that more we are trying to restrict this generation that you have to learn this because the organization wants you to learn this, is not working. You need to give a complete choice to the employee what you want to learn, especially in the technology world. I know I can't comment about other industries. And the moment we are able to achieve that, which we could because of the digitalization of training deliveries, we saw a huge adoption in the employees adopting learning, increase adoption or completing the learning programs, and increase compliance with the measurement, that is assessments, etc. Just to bring one perspective.
Actually, I agree with that. There is a difference between adoption and just completing the learning program. So that's a very big difference, and it comes with a choice. So we open the questions to the audience. We have 10 minutes, guys. We had some slips, so we can ask. So you can take one.
Wonderful. I really appreciate that. The slips will not help in this digital era. Allow for interactions. Resources are also on the other side. Especially the teaching fraternity is here. In fact, they should have been there. Industry Institute partnership under the umbrella of GIBS, we are working. And this transformation this learning and training must start from the institute, then to the industry. Then finally it should move to the government, especially in the backdrop of modification era we are living. There is a need for, I'll come to that. As a teacher, I have my own way of putting across things. Please accept it. Industry should accept. Because in US and UK, teaching fraternity is given primary place. Unfortunately, in India it's lacking. Please allow that submission to you. Modification era, there is a grave need for not only training managers, but train the IAS officers. Mr. Balaji has just now come from training IAS officers. Sir, there is a grave need for that. Mindset has to be changed. From earlier age, traditional mindsets, to the modern, modi age. It has to change. You have a great role to play. Because in the industry and institute and government, of course NGOs also have a role to play in this transformation and to reach superpower by 2020. I think that ends my question or clarification.
Thank you. I mean, he said it. It's a statement that we need to be with the industry. The industry and the academia need to be together. Appreciate your thoughts, sir.
Which we have seen in the past for the audience also knows that, and the institute also knows about it. There's a lot of change in the interface between industry and academia now. I've seen it personally because been part of those campus engagement activities, and now campus and the academia has accepted in the change in industry very well and coming up in a big way. And this live example here that the GIBS school guys are here, and they've been kind of a part of this conference that shows in a way is the different and transformation is there, right? So another question, can we take? Yeah. Maybe you can take it one-on-one when he's off the board, because You can take one-on-one when he's there of the thing. I'll just suggest that because restrict that thing maybe to the conversation which you're going to have about the panel discussion. Yeah.
So one observation, personal observation here is, we have been using a lot of jargons here, sitting on the stage with experience of what we have in our respective companies. If that is not reached to the students, kindly raise the questions where we can go back to the school and also learn from the other perspective also. And we have been using too much of digitized jargons, and that's all very important for us, and that because that's where our bread and butter is coming from, and we don't want to deny that. But however, the question and answers is open for the students too, because that's important from the perspective of where you come. We'll also try and reach you. Okay, so can we open the questions from the students too? Yeah, please raise your hand, and if you have a mic, you have a mic, I think. Yeah, please tell to whom the question is, and then you can take your answer.
So hi everyone, myself Nishtha. L&D consultant for Brilio, and my first question is to all the panelists here, whosoever wants to take it.
Okay, so we'll decide. Please raise the question.
So, so I have two questions. The first one is, so the learning programs you have in your organization, is it aligned to your performance appraisal or the growth track you have for the employees? And up to what extent is it?
You want to take Shantanu? Because you spoke about it. Yeah.
Hello. In our company, I'll speak for my company, no learning is mandated. Even my compliance training is not mandated. I don't have 100%. That makes the job more difficult, like a circus trainer. Getting those people in, right? That's why the experience is. And that's why we have a mix of people. So with a performance and potential are two different things. So learning per se can be recommended, but we don't recommend that if you do not pass this, you don't. Yes, for progressions on functional skills is important because that's our bread and butter. They would have to do the functional skills and domain skills to an extent, but otherwise it is not linked to the performance management.
So in the appraisal, do you give weightage to learning?
I was coming on that point. So in our company, I'll share that. At Happiest Minds, we call that performance enhancement plan first of all. Don't have management plan. This is enhancing your performance. So what we do is there is a provision to put your learning needs. What do you think as an individual? You are free to do that, and it is any learning need related to your domain, not related to your domain. Anything which is long term, short term, you are eligible to do that. It's vetted by your manager because he's the right person to guide. Okay, fine. Are you the right? Are on the right path or not? Are you gunning for the right kind of learning path or not? When it comes as the vetted by the manager, it sits into the appraisal or a goal sheet of the individual, because the goal sheet is related to the appraisal. And there is a weightage, and weightage is also a very beautiful thing, is that you can decide the weightage. So let's suppose I decide the weightage as 15% in my overall thing, and my learning goal is very high for this year. 15% is very high, let me tell you that, in the goal sheet. If it is 5%, so minimum is 5%, which has been given, but 5 to 15%, 20%, people do that also. It is a part of and it's coming as one of the goal sheets, that I have this personal goal for enhancing my skills and learning.
So when, Gaurav, question to you. So when you're saying between 5 to 15%, there is stress given on having done some learning in an year. So the question is, isn't like a gun to a person's head that you're supposed to learn? It's not like, it's not a situation. Yeah.
So I come back on my point where I said that it is an opportunity given to you to decide about your learning. What do you think that is good for your learning path or maybe growth in the organization? I decide my learning. So I'll just tell you my goal sheet in learning. My goal sheet was one of the things, learn Kannada. Nobody has put a gun on me, right? So I decided about one of the language I need to learn, because I have to survive in Bangalore city, and this one of the passion I have it.
But
New language.
That's something you're not writing in your KRAs or like.
That's my point, ma'am.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. People are free to write in their KRA goal sheet that what learning I need to go into. what are the programs I need, what are the certifications I require, and what is my vision for next 2 years or 1 year, which kind of learning I require. This vetted by the manager is required or not. Then it gets into the organizational goal perspective, because the organization has to invest on that. And there is one person who needs to kind of vet it, yes, and nobody is changing that. It's only being vet by it, okay, fine, you can go it for this year, these are the programs, and long term you can decide maybe, next year you can decide on these programs, like that. I hope that answers.
I have one more question.
I'll answer from my company first.
Please, please. Yeah.
I think this is very beautifully it is connected. That's why I think I'm excited to answer this. In our company, we have what is called my learning plan. So I define, like Gaurav's company, I define my learning. But two important touch points it is connected. One touch point is for a certain level within the organization, all the leaders. One is mandated that you need to develop your subordinates. So that is mandated for us. So that means more, whether you learn it or not, you ensure that your team behind you or below you learns, and then you develop, put your efforts and areas what you need to develop for your subordinates. That's one. The second, at organization level, it links what it is called as a great place to work survey, what we do. Okay, now there is a specific touch point for a department head or a functional head or the manager in the company in terms of his data. How does it look like? Okay, because the sigma of everything is the great place to work total ratings what we have got. Now, when we found that psychologically, both psychologically, physiologically, socially and neurologically, all 4 points, we found that when you invest on your subordinates development, in terms of learning and development I'm talking about, when you start investing and you draw the charter for their development, it directly or indirectly is impacting the great place to work. So this is one of the touch points we said, and last 2.5 years or 3 years now, when we have experimented this, we found that it is giving a greater impact in terms of our scores going at least 8 to 9 points year on year. We are not still there at around 90s, but then we want to reach out 8 or 9 points. It is rising year on year, and it's coming purely from the intention of L&D, making an impact for learning.
Yeah, this is not a question. I just want to add, because I also work with Shantanu. So Shantanu briefly mentioned about something which was not related to performance management, but was related to progression. So I work in a function which is very closely working with the academy or the learning and development team of us. So we do give weightage to those some kind of learning. We call it as some assessment or career cognizant career architecture assessment, which really paves the way for your way forward. It may not be written anywhere that it's mandatory, but unless you finish that, you don't go to the next level.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
This same CCA. So the guy is not mandated, but he knows. So in order to learn, we have put up a platform, and they are learning it through a gamified process, which is using a cyber attack, non-linear. Okay, so that is the exact function of the L&D team which works with the CCA people.
Fantastic. Take other question, please. Any other question? Yeah. Okay, please. You have one more question. Let her finish. Yeah. We'll take 2 more questions after this. Yeah.
So, second question, like I think you guys started off with, when you start off hitting the ground and, send off invitations, ask people to join in for the training, or maybe e-learning, you create a learning path. There's a huge follow-up from the learning team side to complete those. I'm not sure, how many of you would agree, but from my experience, what I've seen, that you have to follow up with the people to, complete your learning, complete the learning track, attend the session. It is for your own good. So, does digital can it help L&D team? Can it be an enabler for the learning and development team, where a self awakening could be done for the employees, where their self can understand that this is for their own good, and the follow up could be reduced or could be minimized?
So I'll take this question for, and then I can answer that. One is the other thing which, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Nishta. Nishta, this thing has helped us that when it sits in my goal sheet, and I'm owner of that solves a lot of problem because I am the owner, I have to decide my learning and I have to complete it. That's one problem taken care. Second is on the mandatory program or the culture building programs or any behavioral or succession building or leadership programs, there is a challenge to it. There's always challenge, but in technical programs we face less challenge because people are threatened to be kind of redundant and they want to upskill themselves as fast as possible. So one thing which we have done is when we have new projects, we always tell people that we'll not force you to learn. People who are only ready for these skills will be taken into new projects. And technical guys, let me tell you that they are very hungry for this. They will be behind your life to complete those courses. And we have queues, we have wait listing for the programs they want to attend. That's what I want to say. Anybody wants to add maybe?
Question for you. Which day do you send the mail? What time do you send the mail? What gender does you see the mail? Ask those questions. Because we did that study last year, and I can tell you there are studies which say which time, what kind of industry, what kind of mailers give you returns. See, you need to think like a consumer. Your job is to create the training program and push it. It will not work. Your mindset should be, how will the consumer look? You go on Amazon, you look for shoes, you open 5 different e-portal sites, you get only shoes. How is that possible? But your learning doesn't work. Now, as a fraternity, you might say, my organization doesn't have the resources and the strength to do that. My question is, let it start from you when you're sending the mailer tomorrow. Ask yourself and think like a consumer. We can take it one because there's one more person.
So, hi everyone. My name is Sumita, and my question is open to all of you. We are talking about digitization. Now, do we see data science falls into L&D and or completely different section that is? If yes, can you please share your views?
It's not that it's a platform or something. Data science is a skill which data scientists you have it, right? It's an acquisition of skill which you can have. So, is a part of L&D? I would not say it's not a part of L&D. It's a skill which you can acquire through L&D. That's my answer.
So data science is you working with data. So the blank cell in your Excel sheet gives you a data. You may not understand. So you would have, and in fact that's a very good question. How many L&D data scientists do you have in your team? You know the people who have passed out from ISI, Indian Statistical Institute, they are the most in demand. I know people with 3 years of experience commanding 40 plus lakhs. That is the kind of, because the data science, we as an L&D, we look at only, you have to look at non-related functions in your team. And data science being one of them.
L&D data science as a function means do we use that data or big data in our observations and maybe offering to the people?
Exactly. So I wanted to know, are they really using data science into L&D in any of the organizations? And if yes, how are we going to use it?
So that's where you have AI, artificial intelligence, you have heuristic data points, submission, regression therapies, you have R programming, for those who are technical, using sentiment analysis of your feedbacks of learning sessions, which gives you data science kind of inputs.
I'll take another very practical example and connect that thing, that goal sheet which you have it. So if I have 2,500 people in the company and I have, let's suppose, 4 or 5 learning aspirations for myself. So I have, I think, a couple of thousand data points, right? And the data points have to make sense to me being a L&D function. Because I cannot run on individual learning programs for every individual. I need to collate that data somewhere. It should make a sense to me where I can learn program for masses. Means at least for people like 200 people or 300. Does it make sense for me, the data? So that way, yes, L&D is using a lot of data interpretation. No, not Excel. No, it's our program tool driven. Yes, yes, not Excel. She wanted to ask a question. Yes. I think we'll take 2 questions more. Second last question. Second last and last after that. Offline, yes, yes, yes.
Hi, my name is Miriam. The question I ask can be answered by any of you. From morning, all the panel discussions have been around in a digital world, being agile, being open to change and innovative is to help an employee perform well or coming in for a new job. These are the qualities that a recruiter is going to look for. To us audience, if you can give us tips on, how a person can be and can portray as someone who is really agile, someone who is open to change, and someone who is open to innovation as well. Because these things are very easy to talk about, but what is it that, what qualities or what are the tips and tricks that, it's like a cheat sheet is what I'm asking.
Can I take this question first and maybe you can take it later? So ma'am, this is called branding. So how do you self-brand yourself? You're asking this question, right? In a way.
Because
Agree. So I'm saying agile and all,
yes,
just in time, whatever digitalization. How do you showcase that to the prospect employer or as to existing employer also, I would say that. Yes. So they basically have to divide this into two parts. One is the skill which is being defined by some certification or some kind of recognition. So if it is being defined by some recognition or certification by a body, obviously you need to get those certifications, and those certifications speak for you. It can be in digitalization, it can be in anywhere, and any field like that. There is a behavior thing and the knowledge which you kind of demonstrate. There are a lot of platforms you kind of have to demonstrate those things when you brand yourself. So and LinkedIn is one of the platforms we have it. We do blogging, we do other things. So we are in one of the brightest phase of our life actually, if you see as professionals. We are, a lot of interconnection is there between the people. The profiles are open. I have a freedom to express. So though nobody stops that for behavioral traits, that you can do that and your interest you can show. So there's an informal learning which you can do, and you can express your thoughts on those things, so that when somebody looks at your profile for any mechanism, maybe through social media or something like that, that should demonstrate that yes, you have keen interest in those things which you have shown in the past. Your observations are there and you learn those things. That's how it is.
So if we go deeper inside this question, this can be a longer discussion. But I will just put it in a slightly different way. Okay, first, all these other competencies that you just listed, okay, they come on top of your core competency. First, we all have to understand, every student in the room has to know that you can give an excellent interview, okay, and you can fool the interviewer actually. But that is not the goal, right? You might end up in a wrong job. What is at the core is you discover your true self, as was being mentioned here, and on that core you add all these qualities and learn some skills how well to project these qualities on top of it, right? If you ask me, the biggest challenge of industry, what I was also quoting earlier, is it is not that no jobs being there. There are jobs. Problem is a wrong person doing a wrong job. You need to do a job which is suited to your talent. That is the core. And if that is what industry and academia can achieve, I think that is one of the challenges. That why not everybody who comes out with a flying score out of universities is a great career achiever and the industry leader in the market. Because you need to first understand what is your core talent and choose a profession and stream, and the university should provide the flexibility and choice to you as a consumer, that by the time you come out you exactly know what are you meant for, what is that you have in you, and then that you will find the best job for yourself anyway.
So 1 minute. I think this is a deeper question. Thank you very much. It's not easy answer you cannot get. Okay, you'll get a diversified answer. But I'll try and answer this question from NLP point of view. See, we were in our company. Last year we were selecting 25 interviewers. It's the best interviewers. We said that, go to these interviewers. The chances of selecting the best people for the organization is very, very high. I'm from an e-commerce solutions company where I was told that including Amazon was done by the same company, and we can't tell it outside because it's a third party. During the process, I gave this NLP technique to one of the trainer who was training these people. And actually, this is Tony Robbins who talks about it. It's the first thing, each individual should know the skills and capabilities what you want. That's the first one. The second one is the skills and capabilities what others want from you. Now, when we went little deeper into this and gave this tool for the people, the interviewers came back with a very, very important data, saying that I know the skill and capability what I want into looking out the best talent who is sitting opposite me. Before that, I was told that the interviewers in my company were sitting with a mindset to show the supremacy over the candidate who has come. So every interview was based on the questions, and when the candidates were not answering those questions, this guy used to feel very good. See the joke what's happening. You are being there to select the people, but you are finding actually the pleasure within you because that guy is not answering. So thank you.